Or podcast. Holy
Cars and Coconuts. Welcome to a new podcast series called Cars and Coconuts. At least we decided on the title 1 minute ago.
Cars and Coconut. Brought to you by Kelapa Jelly.
Yeah, from Kelapa Oasis. And of course, Puteh as well.
Puteh is an event venue where you can do a lot of stuff. So come here and check it out. We have big event halls like the Marquee, and we have a medium-sized one like the Dome, and a very small one here, which is called a teepee. It's like a red Indian teepee, or at least it's made to look like one. What's our topic today?
The topic today is going to be
Excuse me while I munch on my Kelapa. Yeah.
It's going to be about some of the cars that we played around with during MCO. Because the last time we did a podcast was 2020 when we first hit 10,000 subs.
Right.
And then we got excited. We did 3 podcasts. And some people enjoyed it. I think our true fans, like Peter, who have been
I met a few.
You met a few?
That day at the event here, there's a company event, I met one guy, and he kept talking to me, very nice guy. He said he watches all our videos. Loves them. Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of content we want to aspire to.
Definitely, man.
Sights and sounds is just a numbers game. But the real content we love is the ones where we talk a lot.
Yeah, we talk about cars, man.
Yeah.
And coconuts.
And coconuts. So, I think you better go first. I think you, during MCO, went a bit mad with your cars. You essentially cleared up a little bit of capital.
Yeah.
And you bought a lot of cars.
I bought a lot of cars, actually. I was trading up bit by bit. So, I think, what did I buy? I bought a Celica.
The first thing you bought?
The first one I bought was a red color TA41 Celica.
Yes.
Which is a second gen Celica.
That's the one you saw the Autophiles vlogs about you restoring it.
Yeah. I put in a lot of work, man, into that car. I bought that one. Then another deal came, which is both also Celica. It's basically buy one, free one deal. So I bought another TA41 with a free TA41. So I ended up, within a few months, with 3 TA41 Celicas.
And one of the TA41s had a 1G engine?
2 has a 1G.
Both have 1G?
The original one is a 2T.
Okay.
So it's a 2T normal engine that you find in a 1.6 Celica. It was very smooth, very reliable. You can overheat the engine in the morning, let it cool down, overheat again in the afternoon, let it cool down again and drive it again at night and overheat it also.
This is the engine that built Toyota's reputation.
I presume so. The T engine was actually not to say it was performance based, but it tends to have a larger CC, like the Ks, the pushrod Ks you find them in the Corollas. They use it until the answer, man, I'm not kidding you.
1.8.
Until like the 90s. Gila, it is from 60s until the 90s. They non-stop producing. It starts on first crank, man. It's always like that. Torquey, not a lot of power. Right. But chuck a 1.3 into an old
weightless thing
like 700 kg, 800 kg thing. It still can go a bit at reasonable speed. That's the thing about old Japanese car. Any Japanese car before the 90s, right? They don't perform well above 110. It's like as if they are not designed to perform above 110. So anything after that you get is a bonus.
Yeah. I think this is where the reputation of European cars as Autobahn cruisers comes from.
Because they were built for the highways, right?
Big CC, heavy.
Whereas the Japanese are, okay, we're going to do really well below 110.
Yeah.
Anything after, we don't really care what happens after that. In fact, my car, the one I drove today, which is Mitsuoka, which is one of those MCO acquisition as well.
The Galoo.
The Galoo has a speed warning that comes on at the wrong time. It's supposed to come on at about 100.
Right.
I noticed that with the Supra as well. It's also about 100. But this one came on about 85 to 90 now. And it's faulty, so it sounds like somebody is blowing a trumpet. I haven't gotten around to get it out. I have too many cars to take care of any single one, especially for small issues like this.
Hopefully it's just a snip,
I hope so.
Snip of a wire.
I hope just cut it off. So I bought 3 Celicas, one with the T engine, the 2T.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a 2T, it's a 12T. 12T, which is late 70s, they had some regulation for emission things, so they made a cross flow, so it went to the other side.
Right. But still carbureted.
It's still carbureted. It's basically the same engine, just a cross flow. The other 2 was a transplanted. Both are 1G. One is a 1G twin turbo, the other one is a 1G supercharger.
But that Celica, the TA40 was not made for 6-cylinder, right?
It was not. In fact, the TA40 was the first generation of Celica to be made into a Supra. So basically what Toyota did at that time is that they saw the Nissan was killing it with the Zs. The 240, 260, 280, the first generation Z was slaughtering all the markets in the world because it's just so gorgeous. And it's cheap, unlike the Toyota 2000 GT, which is like our LFA. Nobody bought it because nobody know. Where do you even buy one?
Yeah, correct.
You know what I mean?
It's just to get Toyota fans excited.
You get a lot of excitement, but nobody actually spend money on it. So it's money-losing endeavor. But the Z was not. It was selling like hotcakes. It was cheap back then. But to these days, madness, man. A quarter of a million ringgit in a good condition one.
240.
Yeah, 240. 260 is you're looking at 180,000, 160,000. 280, even that also is 150 and above. So the Z was so successful, they came up with the 280ZX, which is the S130, which is second gen. It's a bit uglier than the original. It's fatter, more 80s. It came out like 79 or 78. But it was so successful, Toyota said, we have no answer for that piece of shit. Toyota engineer, what are we gonna do? We have no answer for the piece. So Toyota guys came up with an idea. We have a sports car, which is the Celica, which is completely not a sports car, okay? By any standard, even in its day, it was just a little bit
sporty,
a little bit fast,
right?
Faster than your typical Japanese car. That's all.
Still non-independent suspension.
Non-independent suspension. It
just looks faster than it is.
It's actually even by then it was like a normal car with a relatively sprightly engine. That's about it. Yeah. So what they did is they took the TA40, which is a second gen Celica, and they added wheelbase to it.
Okay.
Not only did they add wheelbase, they also added some length in the front, so to fit the inline six, because you need an inline six to fight the ZX.
Right.
So and they plonked it in, and it was not a success. It was a complete failure. Well, because number one, it doesn't look that great. That's number one, and number two, it performed like typical of. I don't want to say that, but. It performed like.
Whenever Toyota tries to do sporty
stuff. They always mess up some element. Towards the later part, like the 80s and 90s, they mess up less. But in the 70s, they messed up a lot, man. They properly messed up. So it wasn't great, but it didn't eat into the sales of the 280ZX, which is why it is actually quite expensive now. In Malaysia, I actually know a guy who owns the Gen 1 Supra, which is the Gen 2 Celica extended version. It's I don't know if it's sought after, but it's definitely very rare.
Was it pop-up headlights?
No, it was not. Pop-up is the one we bought.
It was the quad one.
We bought. That's Mark II.
Yeah.
So thank goodness Toyota kept on doing it. So it was quite interesting.
And it was still called the Celica Supra in Mark II.
No, actually it was, in the first generation, it was called a double X.
Oh, yeah.
That's for Japan. For the US, they call it the Supra. Supra as in above. As in, Supra above, right? Literally, Latin.
Yeah.
So literally it is. It's just taking a Celica and make it one step above it.
But it's just a lengthened Celica chassis.
It was a GT. It is literally a GT car made with a bigger engine, more appealing to the American and European market where the highways are bigger and whatnot. But the speed limit is still there, I think. But in the case of Germany, it's of course it's not there. But it's a bit more negotiable than in Japan.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? In Japan, it's like 90 everywhere except extremely straight highways. So yeah, that was the first Celica Supra.
Right. So after you bought your 3 Celicas, you switched directions a bit.
What did I bought?
You got that very rare.
I got a Silvia.
You got a Silvia which no one has seen in Malaysia.
Okay, so I got that 3 Celica and I started work to restore the first one. It took me a long time. I just realized how much effort I put into it, and because I just sold off the second one.
Okay.
In fact, I just came from USJ, Kota Kemuning, which is my workshop. I just came from there as well. And they're in the midst of doing what I did to my first red color Celica. And the amount of work, I'm like looking at them and like, dude, I did all this myself, bro.
That's crazy. You actually stripped down all the way to the motor.
I stripped. And the interior parts, I redo, man. All the The trimmings and everything, I redid myself. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was right. I would not be able to put that kind of effort into any other car, even though I love some of the acquisition later on, much more.
It just gets more complex.
I cannot put also that level of effort, man.
Right.
So
It's just because it was MCO.
I had nothing to
You had nothing to
do.
do.
I was literally just doing things every day myself. So that was 3 Celica. I still have one, which is like really tersadai, sitting there with a 1G supercharger. I will get to it later on once I free up some of these cars.
Right.
So after that, after that 3 Celica, I went Nissan.
The 180.
I went and bought a Nissan Silvia S110, 110, which is very rare. In fact, I think it's not the rarest Silvia in Malaysia. I would say the rarest Silvia would be the S. It's a tie between the first Silvia, which I think I've only seen one for sale in a showroom, asking like $250,000 ringgit or something, which is the first generation. Then you have the second generation, which is very rare. I've not seen a car, but I've heard 2 or 3 units running around.
Right.
Then there's a third generation, which is S12. That is also rare because nobody brought it in.
Right. So yours is actually second gen.
Mine is actually third gen.
S12?
S11.
S11.
S110.
110.
So mine is third gen. Third gen was actually officially brought in by Tanjong.
But the coupe version?
Only the liftback was brought in by Tanjong.
Oh.
There is a coupe. The coupe was not brought in by Tanjong. So there is one coupe for sale here. It's a friend of mine is selling. His name is Willie. You can check it out now. The car is in Kota Kinabalu, asking 40K.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, not too bad.
Not bad.
Straightforward engine.
His one is a Z18 turbo. Z is basically an L18 with a cross flow. You know that whole environmental thing in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
So it has a cross flow and basically with a turbo, but it's an automatic. That's why they installed the turbo for the automatic. So it's relatively fast for that period, to be honest. Yeah. The ar is still under restoration. There's a lot of work to do because the car has been sitting idle for almost a decade.
Right.
Sheltered, well preserved. The problem, however, is because it's been sitting so long, you have a lot of nagging issues related to cars.
One by one they come out.
You have the brakes, the piston is
All
leaking.
seized.
It's leaking because the part that was outside was rusted, the part that was inside was not rusted, and when the piston goes back in, it leaks a bit because it ate into the metal. So the metal is not sitting tightly. So that's why when I was parking the car, I realized there was a bit of a brake leak. I was like wondering what the heck was causing this. And then of course we had to redo the fan and all those beltings and all those things. Quite a bit of work, but it was good, man. It's good.
The good thing is that kind of problems are all like solvable slowly.
Not that simple. In fact, I actually had to mod my brake calipers. In fact, the brake calipers that goes into my Silvia is from Honda. Because you can't get the original one. There are certain things you have to do.
Yeah, because you can't find the parts.
You can't find the parts, and even if you can find one, it's not the best parts you can get,
So why you have to pay this much money for a 40-year-old part
which
you
doesn't
don't even
work
know
well.
Yeah,
and you don't even know whether it still works.
Correct.
You get what I mean?
Yeah. You might as well get something aftermarket or something that can be adapted.
Yeah. And works better half the time. So that's a little bit of retro mod. I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
And you can't really see it. Nobody's going to inspect your brakes. It's not original.
But that being said, my Silvia is 99% original, minus the rear brake calipers.
Fuel tank?
And the fuel tank, yes. The fuel tank and the rear brake calipers. In fact, the brake housing, everything is still original. It's just the calipers is not. Because you can't find. Unfortunately, the problem is now I have to mod it in such a way that the whole assembly sits slightly out. So I added spaces in front.
But not the back.
Behind the calipers. So that it comes out, otherwise it won't fit. So a bit of a headache here and there. So that was the Silvia.
And then
the deal came.
The deal came.
Then the deal came.
This fella called me middle of the night, like sweating, fever dream kind of call. We have to pounce on this thing.
My spotter in Sabah found Supra.
Yeah. Second gen Celica. It wasn't called Celica Supra.
It was actually, our unit is actually called a double X. And a double X is actually the most sought after in the world. Because the double X has the highest spec. It has the digital dash.
Oh, yeah.
And the digital dash works, our unit works. And the digital dash has a little line that tells you where is the peak horsepower. No, it's not a line. It's the shape of the RPM.
To show you the horsepower gain.
Yes, it shows you where is your peak, and at 6,000 it actually drops back down. So the highest is at 4.5 or 4.8 or something like that, and it drops. So the RPM goes like whoa. You can literally see it lights up and it goes higher and then it goes lower.
Wow. I didn't know that.
That is amazing, man.
Yeah.
So
it was a manual.
It was a manual. It was an all original. The only thing that wasn't original was the steering. I managed to buy a Celica Supra steering.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, an XX steering showed up later on. I'm like, oh man, I should have bought the XX. But anyway, the XX and the Celica Supra is the same car. It's just different trim level for different country.
Right.
Right. And the double X has one of the highest. One of the highest, I would say, equipment levels and trim levels.
Yeah, and the interior of that one is very, very intact.
Yes,
like
very intact.
Nothing was cracked.
It was worn, it was old, but everything was there.
Yeah.
Everything was, and it has this little dodgy-looking little seat pump at the side that for you to push up your lumbar support.
Yeah. And we actually drove it after the car came to his house.
Yeah.
We took it out for a spin. The car functions, like it works.
It works. Yeah. Mechanically, everything was working except the aircon. Unfortunately, the problem with the car is the brakes. Sorry, not brakes. The exhaust. The exhaust was leaking.
Yeah, so you can smell it.
Yeah, it's coming in. You rev above 3,000 RPM, you see a bit of smoke coming in.
So it's not just a visual. No. You get the smell also.
So we gotta sort that out. We haven't sorted that out yet.
Yeah.
So anyway.
The car is with you.
Yeah.
And it's mostly a body issue, like the back, a bit of rust.
A little bit of knowledge for those of you who are looking for Celica, to collect Celica Supras or Supra collectors.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are absolutely crazy about Mark IVs, man. They see Mark IV like, oh, I see God, man.
Yeah.
You got what I mean? They're crazy about Mark IVs. And of course, some of them would go for the whole range. Mark I, you're not going to get. Mark II, there are many. Mark III is getting a bit ridiculous in pricing. They're asking 150,000, 160,000.
Yeah.
A bit ridiculous. Asking 80, 90, I think that's kind of reasonable. Mark II, I just saw in JT Car. You saw or not?
No.
JT Cars was advertising one unit. I think it's the same unit that was sold by Dato' Alias.
The auto.
If I'm not mistaken, 150,000 he's asking. Now, of course, granted, the car was in
He sold it for 80.
He sold it for 70 over.
70, okay.
He sold it for 74. He told me. Whether it's true or not, well, I don't know. But he sold it for 74.
Right.
And it came out in JT Cars for 150. But that's expected, because that's what I do. I see JT Cars, I halve their pricing. I'll say that's market value.
Right.
You take that and divide by 2, that's market value. And you divide by 2 again, that's called good deal. So if you find a car and you see on JT Cars for
Quarter it.
quarter it, you get a good deal.
Yeah.
You half it, that's the market value. So
there should be a capital gains tax on cars just for
JT Cars going to hate me for saying this. But I'm very public about my condemnation. I wouldn't say that it's not worth that kind of money, but it's a bit absurd, to be honest.
I mean, used car market is always willing buyer, willing seller. But
it's true.
At the same time, you gotta be not so crazy.
But there is a market value. Very easy to calculate market value. You put a car out and it's sold within tomorrow, that's not the market value.
Yeah, you put it too low.
You put it too low. You put it too low. If you put up a car and it sells tomorrow, at the very limit, you increase another 20%. That's around market value. So let's say a car, take, for example, a Supra, okay? Supra in an okay condition, manual, correct, 2JZ, twin turbo, manual, Targa top, let's say everything is correct. You put 200,000 right now, it will sell tomorrow. So you know that's not market value. You put 300,000, it may sit there for a few months. So you know the market value is somewhere between 2 to 300,000. Unless your unit is immaculate. But how many units that is immaculate out there? Actually none. I've never seen one. So to be honest, for people who say my unit very good, no, it's not. It's not showroom good. If it's showroom good, fine. I 500,000, 600,000.
Like history.
Full service, like new, everything works. Never change, no modification, nothing charged. Original paint, still shiny. Sure, 700,000. Sure.
But how many can you find?
But yours is not like that, bro. Yours is not like that. It's been crashed, run out the curb. You had sex with your ex-girlfriend in the car. You have funny smell. You have water getting wet at the carpet because of the taga roof. No, don't give me that. I know my car is worth 500,000. It's not. At most, it's somewhere between 200 to 300.
Yeah.
So you can tell, actually. Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the Supra.
Yeah.
The Mark II Supra is mechanically very sound, and our unit is 99% except the aircon, which is like +1,000 ringgit fix, which is really easy. Problem is with the Mark II Supra is rust. Every unit rust like nobody's business. And if you find a unit that has no rust and never be repaired, if the fella is asking 70,000, go for it, man.
Yeah.
Go for it.
But also be skeptical. Double check that.
Yeah, double check. But if it's been repaired, don't be alarmed because every unit needs repair. There are units out there asking 20,000, 25,000, but the amount of repair you see is madness. Yeah. And where does it start? It starts at the back. It starts with the rear hatch, and then it spreads all over the entire back. Ours, the rear hatch, I bought a new one that is also rusted, but at least it's rebuildable. Ours at the bottom is rusted beyond saving. Yeah. And then the wheel housing, of course, because the hatch rust, the wheel housing will rust. Yeah. So rust is a serious issue. I have not seen a unit that doesn't rust badly. Same for the Silvia. And that's where I have to say this. My Silvia has such a minor rust. It is an 800 ringgit job to fix.
That's lucky.
It's you will never find another unit in Malaysia, in the world maybe, with that kind of condition. That is not yet restored. But our Supra needs a lot of work, and it started already finally. It's starting, waited 1 year, man.
Worth the wait.
But the fella is starting, and we are rebuilding the entire rear part, all the rusty parts, the wheel housing, and the hatch is just replacement because I don't want to redo back, and then you can't get the correct shape, So that's Supra. So after the Supra, what did I get?
After the Supra, there was a quiet for a while, and then you got the
Mitsuoka.
No. You got the Mitsubishi, then you got the Datsun.
What Datsun? 160. Oh, that's for another episode, man. The 160 is
you better do
epic journey.
Yeah. Do your Mitsubishi first. Do your Mitsubishi.
Okay, we'll do the Mitsubishi. So a friend of mine called me out and said there's a barn find. It's literally a barn find. The car was literally sitting in a barn.
In a kampong. Which you were on the way to Langkawi or something, and then you stop.
You have to drive deep into a felda, deep inside the kampong to find. The car was sitting there. The car was taken as a collateral for money owed many years ago. It was like 15 years, 16 years ago, and once it's taken, it's been sitting there for the past, I don't know how long. Yeah. It was sitting there for so long to the level where, of course, the tires are all deflated. Of course. You put it there for 2 years, it would have deflated anyway. Yeah. But it was deflated to the level where it completely fall out of the rim by itself. That's how deflated it was. They couldn't unscrew the wheel, the lug nuts. They couldn't unscrew it because it was seized up. It's so seized up, man. God. Oh my goodness, it was. But the car was in very good condition. Interior was used. Because the mileage was around 200,000.
But no tears on the seat.
No bad tears, no nothing. So everything was there. There's just a lot of long storage problem. So I got it out and I drove the car.
It's not the first time. I think I saw it on a review. So you.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I semi-daily this car. I'm not kidding you. I semi-daily this car. Drive this car 2-3 times a week.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember you were caught on one issue, some electrical or starter issue or something like that.
When you don't start a car for more than 10 years, that's a million issues, man.
Yeah, the fuel gets clogged up and all that.
So a lot of these issues, it took me about 6 months to sort them out eventually. There is still one issue, 2, 3. And there are still some issues, but the car is drivable. So one of the biggest problems is I have to get back the original fuel tank because this modified fuel tank has issues that I don't want to live with. You can live with it, but I don't want to. Secondly is the rear axle. Rear axle, because it's been left there for so long, it doesn't align properly. So when it runs on the road, there is a whine.
Right.
There's a whine. So it's a big job, but it's a very small problem. Because the whole axle has to come down, come out. Everything has to be readjusted, realigned, and put back up. So it's like 1,000 ringgit labor for a 200 ringgit job, So I'm still putting off on it because it's not vital. It's not going to kill the car.
Right.
So yeah, Next episode, we'll talk about what I got after the Mitsuka. Oh, that is
The most exciting thing for you, but when I saw it, I was like,
What the
very
heck?
skeptical. What happened to Luar?
Oh, but that car was crazy stuff, man.
Okay, join us for next episode.
All right, see you guys. Bye.